This closing lesson of Module 3 asks a specific question. Since most of your session hosts are deliberately disposable and rebuildable from a golden image, what does business continuity and disaster recovery actually mean for AVD? We'll cover availability zones for the compute layer, the precise rule for what needs backup, Azure Files redundancy for FSLogix profiles, and the two host pool DR patterns you choose between. Availability zones spread session hosts across physically separate data centers within a region, each with independent power, cooling, and networking. For a pooled host pool, spreading across multiple zones means a single zone outage only removes a fraction of total capacity, not the whole pool. Availability sets are the older, single data center alternative, useful where zones aren't available but offering no protection against a full zone outage. Personal host pool VMs still benefit from zone placement, but remember each one is a single instance. Zone redundancy protects against the zone failing, not that specific VM having a problem. The single most important bcdr idea for AVD: don't back up what you can rebuild, back up what you can't. Your Azure Compute Gallery image versions are effectively your backup for session host state. Protect the gallery with geo-redundant storage rather than backing up individual disposable VMs. Non-persistent pooled hosts hold nothing worth restoring. Personal host pool VMs can hold meaningful local state if users install their own apps, so they're reasonable candidates for VM-level backup in a way pooled hosts aren't. FSLogix profile containers are where the data users actually care about lives day-to-day, their profile, app settings, and redirected data. Protect that at the storage account or file share level with Azure Backup for Azure Files, not through per session host backup. And treat your Bicep or Terraform templates, Azure Image Builder definitions, and scaling plan definitions as a form of backup too, since they're what you'd use to rebuild the entire environment from scratch. Because FSLogix profile storage is the thing that actually needs protecting, give it real redundancy attention. Zone redundant storage replicates the Azure Files share synchronously across 3 availability zones, which is the recommended baseline for a production FSLogix storage account. Your session hosts might be spread across zones for resilience, but that only helps if the profile store itself can also survive a single zone going down. Geo-redundant storage, or geo-zone redundant storage, combining both approaches, extends protection to a full regional failure by replicating asynchronously to a paired region. Choose this tier when your disaster recovery plan includes failing over to session hosts in a second region entirely. And regardless of redundancy tier, layer Azure Backup for Azure Files on top for point-in-time recovery, since redundancy protects against infrastructure failure but not against corruption or accidental deletion replicating everywhere instantly. In an active-passive pattern, host pools run in the primary region only during normal operations. A DR event triggers deploying host pools, application groups, and workspaces in the secondary region from your infrastructure as code templates and a golden image already replicated there, then pointing FSLogix at geo-replicated profile storage. It's cheaper day-to-day since there's no duplicate compute running, but it carries a real recovery time to stand up the secondary environment that needs to be tested and documented. In an active-active pattern, host pools run concurrently in 2 or more regions, with users assigned or distributed across both under normal conditions. A regional failure just means the surviving region absorbs the affected users, giving near-zero recovery time. The cost is that you're running production compute in both regions continuously, not just when you need the second region. The choice between active-passive and active-active comes down to your recovery time objective. If the business can tolerate the time it takes to stand up a secondary environment from code and geo-replicated storage, active-passive is the more cost-effective choice. If any downtime beyond a brief failover blip is unacceptable, active-active is the only pattern that delivers that, at real ongoing cost. Whichever you choose, actually test the failover. Don't assume the plan works until you've proven it. Across this module you've gone from the architectural model, through networking, images and sizing, deployment automation, and cost optimization, to this lesson's resilience story. The thread running through all of it, AVD treats session hosts as disposable, rebuildable compute driven from code and version images, while the durable, precious state FSLogix profile storage, your image and infrastructure as code definitions, and identity gets protected deliberately. That's the mental model AZ140 domain 1 is testing, and it's what keeps you from over-engineering backup for machines that were never meant to be permanent.